September 9th, 1965. U.S. Navy pilot James Stockdale's A-4 Skyhawk is hit by anti-aircraft fire over North Vietnam. As his plane plummets toward the ground, he ejects, knowing he'll likely be captured. But Stockdale has a secret weapon, not a hidden radio or escape plan, but something far more powerful, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. Over the next 7.5 years in the infamous Hanoi Hilton prison camp, Stockdale would be tortured more than 20 times. Yet through it all, he maintained an unshakable resolve, famously telling himself, "I'm leaving this prison camp alive, and in the meantime, I will live with honor." His source of strength? The teachings of a former slave named Epictetus, who had lived nearly 2,000 years earlier. Stockdale would later say that, "Stoicism was the main source of strength for me. I think it was a lifesaver." Today, Stoic philosophy is experiencing an extraordinary revival. From Olympic athletes to CEOs, from military special forces to Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, people are discovering that these ancient mental models offer a powerful framework for maintaining composure and making good decisions under pressure. In this video, we'll count down the 5 most powerful Stoic mental models, practical tools that have transformed lives from prison camps to boardrooms, from ancient Rome to modern Wall Street. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're battle-tested strategies for developing unshakable mental strength and clarity. Let's explore how a 2,000-year-old philosophy became the secret weapon of some of today's most successful people. Imagine drawing a circle on the ground. Inside this circle, you place everything you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your responses. Outside the circle lies everything else: other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past. 2,000 years ago, a former slave turned philosopher named Epictetus captured this idea in a single sentence. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Consider Warren Buffett, widely regarded as history's most successful investor. His approach perfectly embodies this Stoic principle. While other investors obsess over unpredictable market movements or try to time economic cycles, Buffett focuses solely on what he can control: thorough business analysis and rational decision-making. As he famously said, "I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars. I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over." Naval Ravikant, founder of AngelList, explicitly credits Stoic philosophy for his ability to maintain equilibrium amid chaos. He notes, "A rational person can find peace by cultivating indifference to things outside of their control." Think about your own daily anxieties. How much mental energy do you spend worrying about things you can't influence? The weather before an outdoor event, the traffic on your commute, whether someone likes your presentation. The power of this mental model lies in its clarity. When facing any situation, simply ask, "Is this something I can control?" If yes, take action. If no, practice acceptance. Modern psychology has validated this ancient wisdom. Studies show that focusing on controllable factors significantly reduces anxiety and improves performance. It's why sports psychologists teach athletes to concentrate on their preparation and execution, controllable, rather than the outcome or their opponents, uncontrollable. The dichotomy of control isn't just about reducing stress. It's about maximizing effectiveness. By clearly distinguishing between what we can and cannot influence, we become both calmer and more capable. As Epictetus said, You become what you give your attention to. What's the worst that could happen? Most people avoid this question. The Stoics embraced it as a daily practice. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every morning, they would systematically visualize potential disasters, financial ruin, loss of status, illness, even death. Not to wallow in negativity, but to develop psychological resilience. Seneca, a wealthy Roman Stoic, advised, rehearse them in your mind. Exile, torture, war, shipwreck. All the terms of our human lot should be before our eyes. He practiced what he preached. Despite his immense wealth, he would regularly spend days eating plain food and wearing simple clothes, proving to himself he could handle poverty if fortune turned against him. This ancient practice has found new life in modern times. Tim Ferriss, entrepreneur and best-selling author, credits a version of this technique with saving his business. When facing a crucial decision about his company, anxiety paralyzed him. Then he discovered fear setting, a structured exercise in which he wrote down his worst fears in detail and planned how he would cope with each scenario. The result? By confronting these fears head-on, they lost their paralyzing power. He made the decision, and his business thrived. But this isn't just ancient wisdom or modern anecdote. It's backed by clinical research. A 2021 study, published in Cognitive Therapy and Research, found that individuals who practiced Stoic negative visualization showed significant reductions in anxiety and emotional vulnerability compared to control groups. Modern psychologists have integrated this approach into exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. When patients systematically confront their fears in a controlled setting, those fears gradually lose their grip. It's like building psychological antibodies. Small, controlled doses of adversity strengthen our resilience to larger challenges. Think of it like a mental fire drill. When you regularly practice evacuating a building, you're calmer and more effective if a real fire occurs. Similarly, when you've mentally rehearsed handling setbacks, you're better equipped to face actual challenges. The key is to do this strategically, not obsessively. The goal isn't to become paranoid, but prepared. As Seneca noted, he who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. Modern research shows he was right. People who mentally prepare for difficulties typically handle them better than those who maintain blind optimism. This doesn't mean abandoning hope or optimism. Instead, it's about developing what psychologists call realistic optimism, maintaining a positive outlook while being prepared for setbacks. As Admiral Stockdale discovered in that Vietnamese prison camp, it was the optimists who said, "We'll be out by Christmas," who broke down when Christmas passed. The survivors were those who faced reality squarely while maintaining their inner resolve. Today, this technique is used everywhere from corporate boardrooms to Olympic training facilities. Business leaders use it for contingency planning. Athletes use it to prepare for game day challenges. First responders use it to stay calm in emergencies. By facing our fears in advance, we rob them of their power to paralyze us when it matters most. The ancient merchant Zeno had just lost everything. His ship, carrying his entire fortune in purple dye, lay wrecked at the bottom of the Mediterranean. Most people would view this as a catastrophe, but years later, Zeno would joke that he made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck. Why? Because that disaster led him to philosophy and founding the school of Stoicism. This is Amor Fati, love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it wholeheartedly as if you had chosen it. It's perhaps the most radical and powerful of all Stoic ideas. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, captured this mindset perfectly. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Notice he doesn't say merely tolerate or endure. He says love. This isn't passive resignation. It's an aggressive reframing that turns obstacles into fuel for growth. When you fully embrace whatever happens, you gain the power to transmute any circumstance into an advantage. Modern athletes have discovered the extraordinary power of this mindset. After a career-threatening injury, rather than asking, "Why me?" they ask, "How can I use this?" The injury becomes an opportunity to develop mental toughness, work on other aspects of their game, or discover new training methods. In Silicon Valley, successful entrepreneurs practice Amor Fati without even knowing its name. When their startup faces a crisis, a key employee quits, a competitor launches first, funding falls through, they don't waste energy fighting reality. Instead, they immediately look for the hidden opportunity. As Naval Ravikant puts it, a rational person can find peace by cultivating indifference to things outside of their control. The key insight is that resistance to what is creates suffering, while embracing what is creates opportunity. This doesn't mean you can't work to change things, but you start by fully accepting the present moment, including all its difficulties. Consider a modern example. When the COVID-19 pandemic forced businesses to close their physical locations, some owners fought against reality, burning resources trying to maintain business as usual. Others embraced the situation, immediately pivoting to digital services or delivery models. Those who practiced Amor Fati adapted faster and often emerged stronger. This isn't just philosophical theory. Research in psychological resilience shows that people who can find meaning and opportunity in adversity consistently outperform those who merely endure it. The ability to sincerely love what happens, rather than wishing for something else, creates a kind of psychological invincibility. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Imagine being the most powerful person in the world, yet starting each day by writing to yourself, "Today I will meet ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious, uncharitable men." This was Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, reminding himself to respond to all people with virtue, regardless of their behavior. For the Stoics, virtue wasn't just one part of a good life, it was the whole point. They distilled virtue into 4 cardinal qualities: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Think of these as the 4 compass points for navigating any situation. Wisdom isn't just knowledge, it's the ability to see things clearly and make sound judgments. Justice means treating others fairly and fulfilling your duties to society. Courage involves facing challenges with steadiness and integrity. Temperance is about self-control and moderation in all things. What makes this mental model so powerful is its focus on character rather than outcomes. Most people ask, "What will get me the best result?" The Stoic asks, "What would a person of good character do?" Consider how Marcus Aurelius led during the Antonine Plague. While others fled Rome, he stayed to help the sick, knowing it might kill him. He focused not on preserving his life, but on doing what was right. Paradoxically, This character-first approach often leads to better outcomes. His actions during the plague strengthened public trust and helped maintain order. Today, business leaders are rediscovering the power of virtue ethics. Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, explicitly incorporates Stoic principles in his company's culture. Rather than focusing solely on profits, he emphasizes radical truth-telling, wisdom, fairness in decisions, justice, facing hard realities, courage, and maintaining balance, temperance. The virtue ethics model solves a common leadership challenge: decision paralysis. When you're facing a complex situation with uncertain outcomes, asking, "What's the right thing to do?" often provides clearer guidance than trying to calculate all possible consequences. This approach has been validated by modern research. Studies show that leaders who prioritize ethical behavior over short-term gains build stronger organizations with better long-term performance. As one Harvard Business Review study found, companies with strong ethical cultures outperform their peers by nearly 40% across all financial metrics. The four virtues also provide a framework for personal development. Instead of chasing external markers of success, focus on developing these internal qualities. Are you seeing situations clearly? Wisdom? Are you treating others fairly? Justice? Are you facing fears rather than avoiding them? Courage? Are you maintaining balance in your life? Temperance? Think of virtue as a skill that improves with practice. Just as an athlete trains specific muscles, you can strengthen these four virtues through daily choices. Each challenging situation becomes an opportunity to exercise one or more of these qualities. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Picture this. You're about to start another ordinary day at work. But before checking email or starting your first meeting, you pause to remind yourself, "I could die today." Morbid? The Stoics would say it's the most powerful way to actually start living. Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. Of all Stoic mental models, this one might seem the darkest. Yet, it's actually their most potent tool for living well. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford commencement address, echoed this ancient wisdom. "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Nothing cuts through the noise of daily life like remembering your mortality. That meeting that's stressing you out, that person whose opinion you're worried about, that failure you're dwelling on, all of these fade into insignificance when viewed through the lens of your finite existence. But this isn't about being depressed. It's about gaining crystal clarity on what matters. When you truly internalize that your time is limited, you stop postponing the important things. You stop wasting time on the trivial. You begin to live with genuine urgency and purpose. Remember Admiral Stockdale in that Vietnamese prison camp? It was his embrace of mortality that gave him the strength to endure. By accepting that he might die at any moment, he found the freedom to live with complete integrity. As he later wrote, "In a crisis, the middle road is the road to death." Modern research validates this counterintuitive wisdom. Studies show that people who have confronted their mortality often report living more fulfilling lives, taking more meaningful actions, and maintaining better perspective on daily stresses. One study found that professionals who regularly contemplate their mortality make more ethical decisions and focus more on long-term value creation rather than short-term gains. This isn't about keeping a skull on your desk, though some Stoics did. It's about using death awareness as a tool for better living. Ask yourself, if this was your last day, would you spend it worried about that social media post? Would you postpone that conversation you need to have? Would you keep putting off that project that truly matters to you? Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time." This is Memento Mori's great paradox. By keeping death in mind, you learn to truly live. It strips away the superficial. It clarifies priorities. It gives you permission to say no to the unimportant. It pushes you to say yes to what matters. Of all Stoic practices, this is the most transformative. Because once you fully grasp that your time is finite, you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. These 5 Stoic mental models are not just philosophical ideas. They're practical tools that work together to build psychological resilience and clarity. The dichotomy of control focuses your energy. Negative visualization prepares you for challenges. Amor, Fati transforms obstacles into opportunities. Virtue ethics guides your decisions. And Memento Mori gives you the perspective to make it all matter. But knowledge without application is merely entertainment. So let's end with some questions to help you integrate these ideas into your life. First, which of these mental models do you think would have the biggest impact in your life right now, and why? Really think about your current challenges and which of these tools might help you navigate them more effectively. Second, look at the major sources of stress in your life. How might applying the dichotomy of control change your approach to these challenges? What would you stop worrying about, and what would you focus on instead? Third, if you truly embraced Memento Mori, if you really lived each day as if it might be your last, what would you do differently? What conversations would you have? What actions would you take? What would you stop postponing? Finally, think of a recent situation that frustrated or upset you. How might Amor, Fati have transformed your response? How could you have embraced that challenge as if you had chosen it? Remember, Stoicism isn't about reading and nodding. It's about practice and application. Choose one of these models and start applying it today. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be one.